All right, everybody, away we go. Sorry about that little technical difficulty today. I'm in advance of getting ready to do the TRC live conference tomorrow, so juggling a little bit here to get started, but I am ready to go. And we had a couple of challenges. Adam Kuchik and I were talking about Jessica and her ability to follow up when it comes to, I think after that initial, hey, yes, you can send the booklet. That was one of the challenges I want to get on the table. But Terry, I know I have you in here too. Laura Reckmeyer, I know I have you in here. And because I have a lot of people traveling out to Boston to see me for a couple of days, I know we'll have a small call. So I'll be looking for some help for all those of you that are on here. And we'll get going. Let me just open this up and see who we have. And I'm going to presume, Jessica, you're in there as well. Jessica, do we have you? Jessica? Terry, we have you? Somebody speak to me so I know this mic is working.
I can hear you, Danny.
Okay. Who's that?
I can hear you, Danny. This is Rebecca.
Hi, Rebecca. How are you? I kept
I'm
calling
good.
you.
How are you?
I was calling you Jessica. That's not good. You can tell what kind of day I'm having. That's pretty good, right? So tell me a little bit about the challenges that you're facing on follow-up.
Let me see here. Well, it seems to me that getting the people to want, I guess, I don't know how to describe it. Getting the people to get to the point where we're doing the questionnaires, that seems to be a bit of a problem.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about the offer. Don't worry about the dog. I can handle the dog today.
Okay.
Don't worry about it. That happens. So look, the idea here though is this understanding, and this is what I was talking to Adam about. It's this understanding that we have to have something unique for these people. So whether it's probates, whether it's expireds, whatever, for sale by owners, whatever it might be, it starts with making sure that we are not the problem, he and I, in getting you excited about what it is that's going out to them. So let me just play a little bit blindly here with you. When you send something out to them, what's your understanding of what it is at this point in time? What do you understand it to be? In the context of expireds, you're sending something. What do you think it is?
Sending an invitation to receive our assistance and guidance for their homes.
Okay. Have you ever seen the package that goes out?
Yeah.
Okay. And so tell me a little bit
It's
about—
in front of me, and it's something that I look at in between the calls. When calls are being picked up, I look at there's two packages. There's a probate brochure as well as the CMA.
Okay. Are you calling probates or expireds?
Both.
Okay. Which one are you having the most challenge with?
I would say the probates because, like, for example, the other day, this gentleman got really mad at me because we keep calling them. That was his biggest beef. In fact, he was so mad, he just said, why don't you lose my number? And he was pretty upset. So I guess handling someone being upset, for the most part, I don't take that personal. I mean, I get where he's coming from. He's probably dealing with a loss with his brother or, some loved one. So if someone's calling him multiple times in a day for a couple of weeks, that's gonna probably upset anybody. But I'd say getting through past there's been a couple things. People have been saying, "Hey, why do you, why aren't you leaving a message?" That's been another complaint. And another one was, well, we're not doing anything with the house. We're still dealing with court dates. Of course, that's when I say, well, when is that court date? Would you like me to circle back in a few weeks? I understand you're going through a tough challenge. I try to be compassionate towards the person because, probates are a tricky thing.
Yeah, sure.
So,
all right. So hold
the
that.
expired seem to be pretty easy.
All right,
probates are.
Hold off. Let's just go to the probates. I don't want to meld the two of them because they're very different, right? So you're right.
Sure.
First of all, we have to go back to what you're sending. You certainly had a very light attachment to it, is the way I would grade what I just heard. It was very light. There wasn't a full understanding and an enthusiasm for what this is. So I think that's where I want to start with you. Okay, is you have to understand that what we've done with this seller course, this buyer course, the generic pieces of them, is we have productized our guidance. See, Rebecca, we're in the guidance business. That's what we do. We don't sell houses. We guide people through the buying and selling process. That's what we do, right? The byproduct of that process is somebody buys or sells a house, period. That's just the way that it works. But what we have, each of us that's unique, is our guidance. We can get into all these weird, unique selling propositions and all this, but ultimately a human being is making a decision whether or not to use us to guide them through the process, period. That's just globally what we are all in. We're in the service business. We serve them as we guide them through this process. So as you arrive at any context, in this case, probates, you know that what we have is guidance. You know that they don't know us. You also know that multiple people are calling them, competing to win the guidance business, and or on wholesales, and on probates, wholesalers are also calling, trying to flat out just make an offer. So there's a lot of noise going on. Everybody's clamoring for the business. Got it?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So you're not calling anybody in a vacuum, in isolation. You're not doing this alone. There are plenty of people vying for the very same position. So you need to recognize that positioning is that, okay, here we go. I'm getting into a situation where there may or may not have been a lot of people. Now, when Passion did one of her calls and recorded it for us, we had a situation where all of a sudden we're listening to somebody say, well, you're the 34th caller, but I like your approach. And that's why the language and the understanding of what our offer is very critical, because you're trying to, in a tiny window of time, in fact, about 7 seconds or so, like we analyze, one of your calls, how quickly can you get out of your mouth what your offer is? How quickly can you get it out of your mouth and be different than, say, 34 other people? And that's why we have to obsess over the first moment in time. And that's why if you are not connected, that's on Adam and I, if you are not connected to the value of what you are sending them as it relates to what they're doing, and you don't understand its importance, you get yourself painted into a corner where you're asking questions about timing only without adding value. Am I making sense so far?
Yeah, I'm following you.
And if we just start asking timing questions, well, when is the court date? When is this? We become an adjutant. See, they don't see any value in you in that moment in time unless you are very clear about what you're sending. So the whole premise is, if you go to the expireds are a little bit easier. Number one, there's no death. There's the death of the deal, but there's no death. So death supercharges and heightens the emotion that's already involved in this whole process, right? So it's supercharged, right? Worse, we don't even know when we pick up the phone and call an expired a lot of the time whether there is any real estate to sell or not. So now we have a new challenge on top of what expireds have. See, expireds, they have a house to sell. They tried to sell it. It failed. That's pretty clear. That's why most people will start with expireds and go after those, because the context is clear. Probates, it's less clear. There's an assumption that in probate that there is some real estate involved in the deal. We have to assume that. So that's a challenge, because now you can pick up the phone and you can be a completely unwanted pest, right? I don't have any real estate. Or, why are you calling me? That was a year ago. Or there's all sorts of things that happen. So we have to be able to overcome what we already know is going to be the initial pushback or rejection. One is there's a lot of people calling. Two is, do they really even need us? So we have to be relevant in a different category first. And that is productizing the guidance for probate itself. Probate is a harrowing experience for most people. Number one, somebody just died. If they loved them, they're distraught. If they couldn't stand them, it's now a burden. If it's a bonanza and there's money there from the rich uncle or the rich aunt, now all of a sudden there's greed. So we have all these weird situations that we could be in, and we don't know which one. So there's 3 global scenarios. So the idea is to introduce, even before real estate guidance, probate guidance. So probate has another layer on top of the cake. With expireds, it's just, look, we'd like to send you some information that will help you sell it the next time. Well, what is that? Well, it's a bunch of the properties that were trading in your price range that sold, complete with pictures and details, so you can see what the buyer said yes to while you were on the market. Furthermore, it's our 7-step strategy, so you can see how far you got in the process, and you can see what maybe went wrong. Okay? So that's pretty straightforward. 2 beats. What they want, pictures and details of properties that they were competing with that beat them. What they need, our plan. Got it? Understood?
Got it.
Okay, but now you have a whole other layer of the cake on probates. You can't rush to that. You can. I don't recommend it. You shouldn't rush to that phase. What you should do, and I'm talking to us globally, not Rebecca only. So what happens is now you come back and you say, okay, where we're at in the first phase is, hi, Rebecca, it's Danny Griffin calling from Griffin Realty Group. And I noticed that you were the administrator of the estate of XYZ. So I don't know if you've been through that process before, but what I wanted to do was send you out some information that will help you get through probate. May I do that? So again, the immediate offer is that there's something in it for them to get through probate. There's nothing about real estate yet. We have to ingratiate ourselves by understanding their first beat is this harrow experience through probate. And you're already hearing that in the rejection. So the solution has to come based off of what your reality is. In other words, if you keep getting rejected because they say, well, I haven't even gone to court yet, right? Well, included in this package, I don't know if you already have an attorney, but not only do we give you the terms, there's a glossary of terms so you can understand everything. There's also a timeline of what could happen. And then there's a list of attorneys in case you don't have one already. That will help you. Okay? No matter where you're at, it's just helpful because it can be a very difficult time. Now, in the case that there's real estate involved, I can include other information that will help you secure the asset and value it for estate purposes. Still, I'm not even at selling it yet, right? So all that becomes the next beat. So the first one is, I see that you're the administrator of the estate. I want to sell you some information that will help you with the terms and philosophies of what happens going through that process. Next, in the case that there's real estate, we'll send you some guidance on how to secure the property in case nobody's living in there, and get an asset valuation for estate purposes for the attorneys, etc. And lastly, of course, if you decide to sell it, there's a whole plan in there for that. So really, and again, I'm just sort of muscling my way through it with you right now, and we could get into the details after the conference this weekend. But the point is, that's the idea for these beats, right? We need to hit these beats. Otherwise, we're rushing through it and we're just trying to cut to the chase. I'm not saying that cutting to the chase and asking, for real estate information and using all these NLP, but you're doing it on muscle, not systems. So again, your fundamental problem, as it is with everybody, is we don't take a breath and understand the true value of what we're sending these people and how it helps them in their situation. And in the very first beat, it has zero to do with a piece of property and everything to do with probate terms and timeline. Got it?
Got it.
Okay. So now, if you cheat that process, even in the slightest, okay, if you cheat it, you back yourself into a phone corner. That's where you end up. You end up in a phone corner and everything goes awry because there has to be something in it for them that is truly valuable based on their context. Let's switch gears quickly to a FISBO. Hey, Rebecca, Danny Griffin calling from Griffin Realty Group. Saw that you were trying to sell your house by yourself. Congrats. Go get them. I wanted to send you some information that will help you do that. Can I send it over to the address? Same thing, right? It's the same thing. Well, I'm not going to list it with the realtor. No, I understand that. I understand that. It's some helpful information that will help you go through. Well, what is it? It's a bunch of properties and pictures that have sold right out of the MLS that look most like yours, and our 7-step plan that we use with people. We're happy to give it to you all for free. Well, I already know. Well, I get it. I get it. I know you already know, but this will help you. I'm sure nobody's ever sent you a 7-step plan that will walk you through all of what we do as professionals every day. Now, I'm playing my own objector here, but understanding that when I have an offer that's valuable, when I have the productization of my guidance, when I have the service of going into MLS and printing out properties that are most relevant to their particular situation, that is extremely viable. In fact, you could call it a pre-listing package, if not almost a full listing package. That is wildly valuable to anybody. And you have to believe that, see that, touch that, feel that first before you can convince them of it. Make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense.
Okay, go ahead. Come on, questions.
When some just to kind of, I guess, further expand on that point, when someone has, I've noticed that by their tone of voice that they have objections going into the conversation starting off. Like a few of the calls have been that way. Do you have any points or tips on how to address somebody who's, like you said, probates are very sensitive. They've already got negative feelings about it one way or another. How do you, without veering off the script too much, is there any tips you can recommend for
absolutely, but
grounding them?
Absolutely, but the first step is do not cheat the beginning. When I listened to some of your calls before, you were cheating the beginning, right? Because you think it feels more comfortable, which is very typical, by the way. I'm not beating you up. I'm saying that's what we all do. I can send a top producer in with a very solid formula. We walked through it a couple of weeks ago in the sales training call where I went through exactly from the intake sheet, which you're trying to get to, all the way through the process. I can give that to people and they'll cheat it. Well, I didn't like these words and I didn't like that. Okay, I get it. But the minute you cheat that process, let me show you how 1 degree can throw you off. And I'm going to answer your question beyond this because I know that's what you want, but it starts with starting right. Rebecca? Right? Rebecca? This is Danny Griffin calling from Griffin Realty Group. The reason I'm calling you is I saw that you were the administrator of state of XYZ, and I wanted to send you some information that will help you get through the process. May I do that? You can usually get that out of your mouth in total. But the minute you pause and the minute you cheat that first breath, you chart a different course. There's just no way around it. You can listen to your own calls, right? And you'll see that the minute, go ahead.
I've been listening to my own calls and being that this is my second week and all, getting my rhythm's been a little bit of a challenge. Because some of the people aren't even answering the phone. They'll pick up, I'll say their name, they don't say anything, and I'm like just saying their name just to get a response. And I can see that the line's been picked up, might even be able to hear them breathing on the other.
Then keep talking.
On the other
then
side.
Then keep talking.
Get them to.
Then keep talking. Then keep talking.
Okay.
Talk at them. If they're just going to go deaf mute on the other side, just talk at them. Don't get into a weird thing.
Yeah.
Because the weirder it gets, the more likely they are to hang up faster. You still might get hung up, right? You still might get hung up on.
That's what's been happening.
Yeah, you still might get hung up on, but you've got to get out who you are and why you're calling. They picked up, they didn't recognize, the name, and so they don't know who it is, right? So get the first line out. Rebecca, this is Danny Griffin. Boom, just go. Just play dumb and get the first line out. Rebecca, this is Danny Griffin calling from Griffin Realty Group. The reason I'm calling is I saw you were the administrator of the estate of Sally, and I just wanted to send you some information that would help you get through that process. May I do that? right? It becomes very difficult for somebody not to respond to a free gift that has extreme context with them. Now, you're still going to get hung up on. You're still going to get some rejections. There's still going to be some challenges. But you just can eliminate talking about that by just rolling right through it. Roll right through it. Because again, you're asking what happens in a dead space. Keep talking is my answer. See what happens. Because otherwise, you're simply asking, what do you say in a dead space? Well, we have an opening line for any of this that's pretty stock, and it's a trigger. Rebecca? Danny Griffin calling from Griffin Realty Group. The reason I'm calling is I saw you were trying to sell your house by yourself. So I wanted to send you some information that'll help you sell it. May I do that? Boom. And it's a plug and play introduction that just gets the conversation started without getting weird in the very beginning. And it just basically says, hey, I know who you are. Hey, this is who I am and where I'm from. Hey, I got something that will help you. That's it. It's an extremely logical, simple approach to trying to get somebody's attention over the phone by saying, I know you already, and I got something for you. Huh? Now they lean in a little bit. So if they say things, well, how'd you get your number? Oh, well, we provide this free service in the community for people that are in a probate situation. So we have a company that supplies us with this list. And you just happen to be on the list. Don't worry. It's nothing nefarious. It's free information on how to get through a probate situation. Well, I thought you said you were from a real estate company. We are. And we provide this service to people that are in the community, as well as attorneys who do probates. Just something we do. Well, why do you do that? Well, of course, in the case that there's real estate to sell, we would end up playing that role. But again, if we can help somebody in the community get through this, either way, we're happy to send the information. Again, you have to get up in your logical brain that what you have is valuable to them. I mean, if somebody's how many attorneys do you think have sat still and put together a timeline of events, an infographic that simply understands something? Not many. Not many, if any. So we want to be the unique selling proposition, the ones that productize this information that's helpful to them. Get it out to them. And by the way, it's critically important to do this right in the beginning if you want to get a follow-up call that has legs. See, if you want a good, solid yes, sure, that sounds helpful, you got to get that first line out. Now, let's presume you got the front line out. What other things are you hearing from a rejection at that standpoint? Give me what other things you would be worried about.
Generally, the rejections I get, if I get the line out, if they haven't hung up already, is we don't have any property, or we don't have any property as of yet that we are interested in selling at this time. Thank you for your time, and then they hang up.
Okay, again,
I don't even get in a word in edgewise.
Yeah, well, because you're not making the offer, or are you? I mean, now I have to.
Oh yeah, no, I'll get the full script out, and then they'll say, "We don't have any property at this time that we're going to be selling. Thank you," and then they hang up. I mean, literally, there's like no time for me to even jump in there and respond to it. It seems.
I have to hear the offer. I have to hear the recorded call. I think It's so subtle. If you pause for 1 second or you don't follow the yellow brick road that we think works 85% of the time to get at least their attention, then the problem's yours. Make it mine, right? Make it mine by following exactly what the formula is, and send me some recorded calls for next week, and I'll be able to tell you much better. If I hear the other side, I can hear how they're reacting to you.
Right.
That's the key. If you can hear the other side, and
I've had people.
Go ahead. Come on.
I've also had people cut me off in the middle of the script too. Like, I say Rossetti Realty, and then they cut me off and start getting mad. Like, you guys keep calling and and they're just really upset. And I try to calm them down by saying, well, it's not my intention to upset you. I'm just trying to get information out to you. Or actually, the script goes, did you receive the package we sent you? I'm just trying to do a follow-up here to make sure that you receive the information And if there's any questions that you might have, I'm here to answer them.
Yeah, or just did you receive the package? Right? If you
Yeah.
keep this very
Yeah.
pragmatic, that this will help you. Okay? That this will help you. Are you doing expireds too?
Yes, expireds and canceled.
Okay. So, and is there a different experience between the probates and the expireds?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So tell me your expired experience. Let's shift gears there.
Expired. There's been like 5 expireds that actually wanted the information, so those went well. But out of the ones that didn't want the information at all, they've been, asking the same usual questions. Why are you calling me? I've noticed that I keep getting the same calls from this number every day.
Because we want to help you. Because we want to help. Because we want to help you. Because we want to help you. So what? Because we want to help you. Because we want to help you. You follow me? Like it's just be logical. Just be logical. There's no heavy lifting in this. You don't want to make it so difficult. And what's interesting is you skimmed right over 5 successes. And out in Palo Alto and Atherton, et cetera, 5 successes of packages out the door. How much were those properties valued at?
The minimum one was $2 million.
Okay, the minimum one was $2 million. Add up the value of all 5 of them that you did a successful job on the phone. You got them to accept an expired package from Gail, and you have millions. Let's just round it up. The minimum's 5, so you got over $10 million out the door. Yeah, of potential.
Potential. Yeah, they haven't gone through the questionnaire yet.
Yeah, but hold on. Slow down. How are you going to get to the questionnaire on a $2 million plus property if they don't even know who you are yet?
Yeah.
You follow me?
Yeah, I hear you.
You sound almost depressed today. Is this depressing? Is this job depressing you?
It's stressful.
Okay.
To be honest.
Because you're stressing about something that nobody's asking you to get yet. You got 5 packages out the door. Check the box. Milestone number 1. Have you been able to get any of those people back on the phone?
No.
Okay.
In fact, my scheduled appointment with them this week, that's part of the reason why I'm depressed. 2, I had scheduled appointments, like confirmed times that they said, yes, I'll even put it on the calendar. And they missed their Tuesday appointment. I wasn't on shift on Wednesday, and yesterday when I tried calling back at the exact same time to find out what happened and or just to do the appointment then, they weren't there.
Okay,
Hey, Danny, this is Paul.
Paul, hang on. This is just a callback appointment?
Yes, this is a follow-up appointment so that we can do the questionnaire. So I didn't answer any of their questions about the material, see if they found it educational, and then actually do the seller questionnaire, see if we can set up an appointment for Gail to come out there.
Yeah, all right.
But they're blowing off the appointment.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, not really. That's your perception. These people hardly know Gail yet. You got the package out the door. Now they know who she is. Now they have the stuff. I wouldn't put that kind of weight on it. That's a false expectation. Your expectation that somebody says, sure, call me back at such and such a time just because you sent a package. That's not like an in-home where they've fully committed to a face-to-face. I mean, good for you if you can try to get a specific time, but I don't think that means much of a hill of beans. I think you're going to have to call them multiple times to get them back on the phone, leave messages, say, hey, it's Rebecca from Gales. Just trying to I missed you yesterday. Just trying to, get in touch, make sure that package landed. And again, you're already well down the line in trying to push for a seller questionnaire. You're pushing too hard. And when you push too hard, prospects pursued run away. And you got yourself set up terribly here. I mean, it's depressed you already. Well, it's depressed you already. That's not right. So.
Well, I'm not used to the flow of the way the call cycles goes. And I'm also, I come from solar sales.
Yep.
And I'm used to being a sales rep that goes in home. If I set an appointment with somebody, to speak with them on the phone or come into their house or do an online presentation, then I expect them to hold it. So this is a whole new ball of wax for me. I've never had anyone miss an appointment before in this way. And like I said, like it's very new to me, and I'm,
How much?
maybe
how much-
I shouldn't be depressed by it, but I don't understand the mentality just yet. So
Yeah,
please
yeah.
forgive me.
Well, here's why we
Don't set the appointment to call them back.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know why you're setting an appointment to call them back.
That's what Gail told me to do.
I'd say
She told me to do.
I'll call you
Uh-huh.
back. I'll call you back next week. I'll talk to Gail because I'm going to see her tomorrow. Okay if I call you back next week and check in? Great. What's the best kind of time to catch you? Don't make it so specific. Plus, let's go back to the solar experience. Terry, hang on. Paul, hang on. I know you both want to speak to this. But what's your expectation in the solar business? You would book an appointment for an in-house because they were inbound calls. Did these people call in interested in solar?
No, I was so there were two different companies, and one of them I actually did the telemarketing and got them on the line, let them know that we could save them money on their utility bill, and if they give me a chance to show them how, I'd be happy to do that. And if they say yes, I set an appointment for next week, whatever, and then we go over a phone appointment where we run their numbers. And I show them different arrays, either online, or I set an appointment to go to their house and actually do a laptop presentation.
What size of
with
a
printout?
What size of a transaction is a solar sale worth? How big is that?
Typically between 35,000 up to 120,000.
And do they have to come out of pocket with that?
Sometimes, I mean, if they can afford to do out of pocket, we give discounts for doing that if it's cash. And if not, then we have multiple financing options through various lenders or even state programs.
Okay. So here's a couple of major differences. One, you picked up the phone and told somebody you could save them money with solar, which is, a hot topic, especially in California. Two, it's only worth $35,000 to $120,000 out of their pocket. And that's even if they pay cash. Most people, I assume, don't. Maybe out there they do, and where you live. Next, you just talked to somebody at a minimum that had a $2 million asset, and we're not making a proposition that we can save them money per se. We're making an offer that we can guide them through a process, and that guidance is going out to them. So I would divorce myself from that past experience to the tune that you're expecting people to keep appointments. You're not necessarily making an offer that's anywhere remotely close. It's completely different. So it's a very, very, very different offer. And you're setting yourself up for failure, right? Terry, go ahead. You wanted to add into that because you said what I was thinking. And Paul, then you go after that. Go ahead, Terry.
Yeah, I mean, I would just kind of not Shanghai them, but really, sorry, I've got a cold. I would really just kind of surprise them with generally right after you think that they've gotten the package, try a phone call. If they don't answer in the morning, try them in the afternoon, try them in the evening. And then you won't be I hear in your voice how stressed out you are, and I've been there many times.
Yeah.
And that doesn't do you any good when you're making the follow-up calls either, because you're already in that mindset of being stressed, and it's going to come across in your calls too. And like I said, I'm not beating you up. I've been there many times. But don't set the callback time, because I think that's what's really defeating you. Just surprise them with a phone call.
Yeah, and again, it's an obvious gear shift from where you were to where you are now.
Got it.
It's just very different businesses. I mean, it's not anywhere near the same. We're hunting, as I say to Gail, in her case especially, you're hunting elephants. And you have had a tremendous milestone. I don't know if you know how our business really works, and you need a better education. You have north of $10 million that you're talking to. Got that? 5 people.
Yeah, I got that.
5 people. What's the largest one worth?
4.5.
Okay. So you're probably close to, 15 to $20 million out on the street already. That's a mega massive milestone. That's big. That means you have initiated conversations with close to $15 to $20 million. Most real estate agents for their individual book of business would jump up and down every year to think that they could do that. Okay. It's a massive milestone. Now you have to have better expectations for yourself going forward, that your job is, of course, to get them on the phone next. But just because you get them on the phone, now you have to know what to say. Has Gail, or have you picked up? I know it's only been 2 weeks, Rebecca. So, this is birth by fire, right? So the next question is,
Sure.
what are you going to say to them when you pick up the phone? Hey, Rebecca, Danny Griffin calling again. I'm just calling to find out if you got that package that we mailed out to you. Most of the time they will say, yes, I did. It was great. Thanks so much. Hey, I was talking to the broker here, Gail, and she'd love to take a nickel tour of the property if that would be possible. She'd like to take a quick tour of the property if that would be possible. You're not asking for anything other than to have Gail take a tour of it. Well, we're not really ready, Rebecca. No, she knows that, but she likes to know what's out there, especially when it's off market. Would it be possible? And I'm sure when she comes over, she'll give you a couple of extra tips that relate to the package we sent out. So if it's there and you get a yes, wonderful. Hey, Gail likes to really come and add some value. So let me ask you a few questions about the property before she comes. Now you're into it. You just got to take all this pressure off yourself that there's these hard stops and starts. Don't be so hard stopping and starting. Make sense?
Is
Yeah,
he
I'm getting
okay
familiar
with not
for
getting it?
what the
Hold on.
Yeah, I'm getting familiar for what the rhythm is. I mean, and I think part of the reason why you guys are hearing me so down is because yesterday I did literally 1,300 calls, over 1,300 calls, in a 4.5 hour period. I had 6 people answer and 1 CMA go out. And I'm just not used to those kinds of numbers. So that to me seems way out there. And I mean, all my previous days were 500 to 600 calls, which seems to be the normal average for that time frame. And I was getting 15 calls, 8 to 15 calls, and I would set 3 appointments for phone follow-ups and send anywhere from 2 to 4 packages out. So yesterday was just kind of an unusual day. And then to add insult to injury, the 2 appointments that were missed on Tuesday, I didn't even get one of those 2 on the phone yesterday.
Yeah, wow, you're really
so it was just I guess it was a rough day.
Yeah, but you're driving the car white knuckled. Let go of the wheel, so you're holding on to the wheel so tight. I'm wondering why you're feeling this kind of pressure. Is it just your expectations, or is it?
It's a bunch of things. To be honest, I'm in a financial bind.
There you go.
Secondly, I've been out of work for about a year because I had 3 herniated discs in my lower back that
There
I'm
you go.
just now recovering from. And they told me I would never walk again.
Yep.
So,
There
and
you
I'm
go.
walking again.
Yep.
So I'm rebuilding myself.
There you go.
That's what's
There you
happening.
go. Well, here, I'll give you the best advice I can give you at this moment in time. Rely on some faith here, right? Rely on some faith. I mean, you're walking upright. Great news. And, you're a decision away from being positive. And everybody understands financial bind. It comes and it flows. But here's the good news. You're in control of it now. You're back on the phone. And there's over $10 million worth of potential conversations. And so persevere. Just persevere. You're not going to drive the car any faster by grabbing the wheel tighter and tighter and tighter. Make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Danny.
Yeah.
Appreciate
You're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome. You just need a little faith here that it'll go your way. If you do those right things, there will be days where it's wintry. 1,300 calls. I only got 1 out the door. These other people I was hoping to get on the phone. I get it. When we need money, we rush everything and we lose. See, what you're missing is the wild success you've already had. My gosh. Right, Terry? How wonderful to have $10 to $15 million worth of conversations going on, right?
The fact that she got through 1,300 calls. I mean, I couldn't even.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, these are mega milestones. Hey, Paul, what'd you have to say there earlier, buddy?
Well, I just wanted to chime in. I didn't actually realize until further along in the conversation that she was actually setting another phone appointment. So I don't think that my comment is going to be that relevant anymore, because I thought it was an in-person appointment for Gail, and I was just saying what really cut down on our appointments being. In fact, I can't remember the last time we were stood up, any of us in my office, is just setting your calendar to 2 days before, call or no, email 2 days before, 1 day before, call, and hopefully you get them or leave a voicemail. And then the morning of, call again. And if you still don't reach them, text again. So basically just making damn sure that there's no way. I mean, if they miss at that point, they're total jerks because you've reminded them, in every way you can, other than a smoke signal, that you are coming to their home. So it's not exactly like I said, relevant because I didn't realize it was a phone appointment, a secondary phone appointment.
Yeah, but it's still good. It's still good. It's still very relevant to the rest of the process, right? So Rebecca.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I now know what to do when I get that far along the process. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. Well, first of all, celebrate
Absolutely.
success. I mean, this is all about milestones. Again, I'll repeat my analogy. We're hunting elephant, and they don't fall easily, right? I mean, you have to really, really be patient with these people. Think about this. If you owned a $2 million to $4 million house and someone randomly calls you up, but they said something intelligent enough where you gave them permission to simply send their calling card, which is the productization of their information, that's a huge milestone. Because I'm telling you, there's a whole bunch of other people calling up saying something silly, and they're not even remotely close. You're saying something professional. And here's the hardest thing to do when you need the money. Be detached from the outcome, right, Terry? We just talked about this with Karen this week on her one-on-one. The more you can be of service in your heart and in your mind, it will come out in your tone and in your words, and you won't be looking down the end of your nose. Well, you should behave like this. That's the fastest path to not get anything. Go ahead.
And just be okay with you're not going to get every single one. And that was a really hard thing for me to get and to finally be okay with and come to terms with. And it's, just I tried at my best. If it didn't work out, it didn't work out. Moving on to the next.
Yeah. I mean, do the math too. Take 2 million. Hang on, Paul. Take 2 million and divide it by the low end of the solar, 35,000. What do you get? Right? I mean, now at least, and it's still not equivalent because you're selling something like in California, all right, where solar is absolutely a big deal. Alternative energy is a big deal. And people, sorry, guys, somebody had a loud mic there. I didn't mute you. So the point is, as you're going through this, you're thinking, my gosh, it's sort of like shooting fish in a barrel to get somebody to say yes to a solar consultation, don't you think?
Yes.
I would think so. I would think that's probably one of the best audiences in the United States, right?
Yeah.
So what you were doing there was well received and easy to do. You're calling into a pile of expireds. These people are pissed off. They thought their house was worth more than it was. That's the same with all of them. You call in some people where somebody just died. And if you do it wrong, their perception is you're an ambulance chaser. Right? So you have to just do these things right and understand the context. And that's why we do these calls, to educate you that you're doing better than you think. And I get it. And I appreciate the transparency about where you're at physically, financially. Try as hard as you can to be detached from the outcome and be a servant's mentality, and watch them magnetically attract their way in, which includes leaving a message. If you're pissed off that somebody stood you up on what you perceive to be a hard phone appointment, and you leave a message that has a negative tone, you just killed your own deal. So it's very, very, very important to make sure you check where you're at in your headspace. That's the most important thing. You got to find something that makes you positive before you do this. All right. Good job. Proud of you. Get me some recorded calls and I'll deal with them next week. Okay. Because if I can hear the other side, I can give you specific advice.
All right. Sounds good.
Yeah. Good job. Thanks for jumping in. Do I have Jessica on here today? Jessica, are you here?
Yeah.
Adam's Jessica. No? Hey, Adam, I know you're online here. So Autumn is not in today. So unfortunately, we can't deal with that. But if you wanted to call in, I don't know if you're at the airport coming this way or you're already here or where you guys are. Paul, by the way, are you in Boston?
Yes, I arrived yesterday at 2:20 p.m.
And you're not outside on this gorge day, huh?
I have too much work in. I'm sitting in front of the laptop working while I'm listening to your call.
I like it. Don't let Voltaire and Lee and Gail sway you.
Voltaire's working too right now. We're going to try to, so is Sonia, the three of us are going to try to get out in the next, hopefully, hour and a half and at least have the afternoon.
Oh, yeah. Get over the public garden. All right. Who wants to go next? Terry, anything from me? Or I have somebody in New Jersey, and I don't know if somebody from Oneida's team is there. I'll take anything here because we have a small group today. Laura,
I do.
Go, Terry.
Okay, so just had a client that I booked an in-home for, competing with another agent. Given circumstances, I'm having a really hard struggle with the last in the door. If I can't get her last in the door, obviously it's okay because I'm getting the appointment, but I mean, if she's first, how awful is that?
Well, it's not that it's awful. It's just that the law of averages tells us that if time passes, they forget what we said. That's the problem. It's not that she doesn't do a great job, but if they have committed to getting multiple opinions, then they just forget what she said, and she becomes vulnerable. And she becomes vulnerable to attack. So in other words, she empowers these people. She takes them through a whole systematic process. They love her. Everything's going well. And now she gets into this conversation about pricing, or she states her commission. She just becomes vulnerable because it's easy for the liar to come in and take her legs out. Oh, you can get another 10, 15 grand. Why'd she tell you that? That's not right. Oh yeah, I'll do it for 5 apples, not 6. So she just becomes vulnerable to easy attacks. See, she's the most comprehensive going in, so you know that. They'll like her. But people don't always make intelligent decisions. In fact, most of the time, they are irrationally predictable, right? Or predictably irrational. So we know that, and that's why a lot of us are miffed. We're sort of like, well, what? I hit it off with those people. How'd they list with that gal? That gal's done 2 deals this year. Well, because they're irrational in the heat of the moment. So the reason for being last is if it couldn't be irrational, we might as well be really good and really last so that they could be like done. See, it's sort of the surrender moment. Oh my gosh, thank God you came in at the end. You were so comprehensive. You just made this easy. And they make that decision.
Right. So if she's not last, though, obviously the goal, as dumb as it sounds, is to get her a appointment.
For sure. Amen. No doubt about it.
Okay.
Get her in the dang door.
Okay.
No
Because
doubt.
they have one. They only had 2 agents, and one is tonight at 6:30, and they couldn't do tomorrow. And then I thought waiting until Sunday was too long.
Good. I agree. I wouldn't obsess over it.
So my only option was to get her in Thursday before this other agent.
Yeah.
I couldn't even get her in on the same day because of their schedule.
Now her job is to really make sure that she gets a commitment that says, look, I know Terry asked you to have us in last, and that's like, we like to be compared to everything, right? So unfortunately, in this case, we weren't able to do that. Could I get a commitment from you that you won't sign with this other agent unless I've had a chance to rebut anything that comes up that we didn't talk about?
Okay.
That's it. See, it's the law of commitment. If she can get them to commit to not signing with the second person without talking to them, that's as good as you're going to be able to do. But she needs to have, when you can't get her in last, she needs to have that thing. Just like you're going to say, look, I know you're interviewing 2-3 people before her. All we ask is that, we spend a lot of time preparing for this. We ask that you don't sign with anybody before you've had a chance to meet with us. Would that be okay?
Right.
You got to get that commitment there or on the back end of it. If you can get it on the back end, great.
Okay.
Yeah, good job, though. I mean, you're right. Defer to the appointment. Get the dang appointment, period, paragraph. Right? But then make your adjustments from there. And again, it's all about the...
I struggled with it because I couldn't get off the phone with them to see what she wanted to do, obviously.
Yeah.
And so I just said it, and I was like, oh, gosh.
Yeah. All good. You did your job. You got her an appointment at a property. Wonderful. Okay? Now, we have to adjust because, of course, it's never perfectly in line. These are best practices. If we could perfectly control a process, then we would perfectly control a process based on the knowledge of this group, the hard work that we all do, bubbling up these systematic ways that lead to predictable results. We're just discovering immutable laws or ways that things work, and we're copying them, right? That's what we do. But when it breaks down, we don't panic. we say, what adjustments do I have to make because this happened? Well, one of the most important things to understand is that I've heard for years, and so have you, all of us in this industry complain, I can't believe they went with so-and-so. It's a very common complaint in our business. And the reason we say it is because we never step back and consider humans don't always make an informed, logical decision. In fact, that's our unique selling proposition here in this group. If we can be the ones that inform them with logical information, they can make a more intelligent decision on our behalf. However, if they don't make it right there at the end of the process live, they forget and they go back to being human, making more predictably irrational decisions. I felt myself doing it the other day. I was trying to look for a projector for this weekend, and I was getting dizzy looking at all the serial numbers and the names and everything. And in the end, I just was like, bang, just get this one, right? So it became a little bit more predictably irrational in the end. Now, I was close enough. I knew some of the basics, but in the end, I needed what I needed and I wanted what I wanted, and I just bought it in the heat of the moment, right? So that's my point, is that you have to study human behavior in addition to this to say, look, if I can take a human through a guardrailed process, meaning they can't really escape it, I'm keeping them in there with logic, and I'm empowering them to make a decision that's positive in my direction. But oftentimes they jump over the guardrails and they break our thing, or they talk over us like Rebecca on the phone. Start talking over her. They start objecting in the middle of it. They cut her off. That's when you still have to go back to understanding what the value prop is, because then you can just, you can ad lib it. Say, well, look, you don't have to get mad at us. This is legitimately free information. Are you saying that you don't want pictures and details direct from MLS of properties that sold in this price range while you were on? You don't want that? Are you saying that you don't want to see what are the order of the 7 steps that we take people through? We sell property in your price range all the time. You're saying you don't want that? Okay, great. Have a nice day. So you're always trying to get them out of this irrational, illogical mindset back into hitting them with the logic hammer that they need and want what we have, right? But always recognizing they are a flight risk at any point in time. You can have a client that freaks out and starts acting irrationally because all of a sudden what you don't know behind the scenes is they're stressed, right? They've got a movement stress, somebody's sick stress, got money stress. Stress makes us, it is the fire for irrational behavior. So as long as you have a tool to deal with it when you recognize it, we're not last, Karen, don't forget when you go out to this appointment, get the law of commitment rooted and say, I know you're meeting with somebody tonight. All I ask is you don't sign with them until I've had a chance to rebut anything that you talk about or I get challenged on. Right? Try to get that commitment.
Right. And she did. She did. And she did that same with that other one we talked about at the beginning of the week. They didn't give her that opportunity, but
Did she talk
she
to
did
them?
ask for it.
Did she talk to them? Have they decided?
They went with somebody else.
Yeah. On what price? Based on price?
Yep, of course.
There's the point.
But they didn't give her the opportunity to go over like she asked them to, even though they committed and said that they would.
Yeah, because they were predictably irrational. It was too late.
Yep.
So the adjustment in the house is she was a wee bit too firm on the price because they're super motivated. She told them that, there was some challenges, but had she simply said, look, let's go at it at this price. Let's see, you're only there for 7 days. I think like in Lee.
She did.
Yeah. No, not really. Not really.
Oh, okay.
Not the way she told me. Not
it
really.
Sounded like she did.
Yeah, not really. Not really. It wasn't believable to him. Follow me? She didn't believe in it enough for him. See, when people are making a decision about price, as long as it's within the bounds of reality, you need to be enthusiastic about what you're about to do for them, right? And
if you watch though, they're going to come in at what she said in the end.
Well, right. Well, that's why I'm saying it wasn't that far off where I thought she could have been enthusiastic about taking it only 15 grand higher. because they'd only been on for
Yeah.
7 days at that lower number. So she really didn't have
Right.
any feedback as to whether that lower number or anything. Well, we didn't get anything in 7 days. 7 days is like talking about nothing. See, there's the problem with Seattle, Washington, or Washington in general. Your market's too good. Your market's too good. You guys are all
Yeah.
over. You guys are
It's
all over.
frustrating.
You're over analyzing things, right? I mean, let there be some process. Let there be some process. Let the number come to you. So, but good. Doesn't matter. It was a great week. Her mindset was solid.
Absolutely. And then she went into last night's on fire. I
Yep.
mean, like,
Yep.
she felt like $1 million.
Keep getting 'em.
And,
Keep getting
you
them.
know,
We'll
I
start to
followed
have
up with them this morning and they felt the same way. So.
Yep. Awesome. Superb. All right. What else?
Thanks.
We're at the end of the call. Anybody have something burning that I can deal with? All right. Hearing none. Thank you for being here. All of you that are on here that are at the conference. Looking forward to seeing you in about less than 24 hours. And the rest of you, I'll see you next week. See you on the other side. Thanks.
Dan,
Thank you so much, Danny.
Yep. Go ahead. What was that, Paul?
Thank you, Danny.
You're welcome.
pick up your steak or it's going to go bad.
Okay. I'm not up there yet. I'm coming. Coming in hot.
All right. All right. I'll see you
See
soon.
ya.
The conference is now completed. Goodbye.